Hey everybody, welcome to our football show. I'm Chris, got Kent Repository Sportswear Pierre Holland with me. We're taping this the day before Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Pierre. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Chris.
Yeah, you're on the road today. You're in the Virginia area. How are things down there?
Oh yeah, I'm in the DMV is nice, beautiful. I haven't been there in a while. I haven't seen my family in a while, so I was like, the bosses gave me some time off, and I took it and run with it. So it's great. It's great.
Fantastic. Are you gonna be back covering Massland, or you got some time off as well?
I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it to the state semifinals, but I will be covering all of the state championships. So hopefully Massillon
Okay.
beats Hoban and they make it to the state championship. But if not, I'm still gonna be covering state regardless since they can. So
What can you imagine? I'm sure the coaches out there going, "Hey, win this, and Pierre can cover us in the state finals." I bet you that'll propel Massland into a big win. Who knows? We'll see what happens. All right.
right,
Well, well,
right.
well, we got time for a couple quick segments. Let's first talk about the NFL. Interesting game, and man, you proved me wrong. I really thought we were going to play in the snow of Buffalo, but things got a little snowy, so they moved the game to Detroit. The Buffalo Browns game. Buffalo ends up winning. Browns kind of stayed in the game. I don't know. Josh Allen looked a little rough at times, but he kind of had enough to pull the Bills to win. A lot of frustrated Browns fans. I'll be honest with you. I thought the Browns did. I was expecting the Browns to win that game, and the Bills are still a really tough team, but a lot of anger in Cleveland after another loss from the Browns. 31-23 was the final.
Yeah. So the Browns were in it in the first half. It looks like they were amazingly competitive than we thought they would. And at the same time, the Buffalo Bills, meaning what they had to go through, they didn't really got a ton of practices. They didn't know if they're going to have the game in Detroit or not. The traveling, there was just so many things that going on. So, of course, it wasn't really going to be in sync, at least at first. They were struggling. And Josh Allen has been a little bit of a slump lately, but eventually they finally caught on. I think what really what really won them the game is that the Buffalo Bills ran the football well, and that's always been the struggle for the Cleveland Browns. They can't stop anybody. They can't stop the run. Even when Josh Allen wasn't playing well enough, at least they got DJ Singletary was able to get some carries and help them score a couple touchdowns. So that was definitely a big help, and they finally connected with Stephon Diggs as well. So yeah, it was another bad loss for Cleveland. I It's really hard to know where to go from here. Um, are we still looking ahead if Deshaun Watson going to be that savior? Because they got like one more game left, and that's against Tampa Bay until he makes his debut against Houston. So that's just the thing that you're asking yourselves: can the Cleveland Browns still remain in the hunt until Deshaun Watson gets back? And when Deshaun does come back, is what's going to change? Is it going to make a major difference?
Well, and they're to a point, honestly, where they've got to win out. I mean, we
Yeah.
were talking about what realistic place the Browns could be before Deshaun comes back, but they're 3-7. They're going to be the underdogs against Tampa Bay, and assuming they lose that, you're 3-8. I mean, you got to win out to have a chance to even qualifying for the playoffs, let alone doing anything. I'm with you. Run defense still had trouble. Buffalo is really not known for the running game, but Devin Singletary and James Cook both had 86 yards for the Bills. And man, it seems like every week we talk about Nick Chubb. What happened there? 14 for 19 for Nick Chubb.
I'll definitely say this. I don't. I can't put too much on Nick Chubb because everyone knows when Nick Chubb once he finds a hole or find a spot, there's no stopping him. The
Right.
problem is up front. There's no
Yeah.
put. The
Yeah.
offensive line and you kind of see that even going back to the Miami Dolphins game, um, they weren't able to get any kind of push at all, which would make it harder for Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is good when he is open, when he finds an open space, an open hole. It just don't come. But the problem is there's just nothing there for Nick Chubb, which makes it harder for the running game. So that's definitely an issue as well, and also doesn't help that offensive line has not been healthy either. I saw they lost their center too, Ethan Posich, which is also unfortunate. So they're hurting right now. I think Gerald Wills is still dealing with a naggy ankle injury as well. So the offensive line is not in their full strength. Joe Batonio too. So the offensive line is just not where it needs to be right now, and I think that's also affecting Nick Chubb as well.
What do you think about the Tampa Bay game? Tampa Bay's 5-5. They've won 2 in a row. They came back to beat the Rams 2 weeks ago, and then they had to win in Germany over Seattle last week. You think the Browns have a chance? I mean, I think this is a game they could win.
It's a possibility. You know, you don't want to rule anything out. Neither teams are not where they need to be. I think Tampa Bay is still a high favorite because whenever even Tom Brady is, even though his career is descending, I don't feel confident enough the Browns could get it done in the fourth quarter against Tom Brady with Mike Evans and those guys. So I don't know. They have a chance. I think they can make it competitive, but I honestly think that Tampa Bay is going to run away with it.
I think this means for Kevin Stefanski. I mean, a lot of criticism over his play calling, some of the other stuff going on. Joe Woods obviously has had a rough year as the defensive coordinator. Do you think Stefanski makes it? I mean, or do the Browns really have to put a run together for Stefanski to be considered to be their coach next year?
To be honest, I'm pretty sure they're going to let him finish throughout the season. Where do they go from there afterwards? It kind of looks to me, my personal opinion, I think they're likely going to give him like one more year. I don't think there's going to, but I think there's definitely going to be some coaching changes as far as, especially on the defensive side. So I think there might be intentions of keeping Stefanski for at least one more year to figure this out and see if where they go with Deshaun Watson as well. How is he going to look with Deshaun Watson as a full-time quarterback, and see if they can build the pieces around him along with him. How they're going to build their defense as well. So at least Stefanski at least owes that. They owe Stefanski that. At least give him how he can respond after a down year, especially after a down year. So it wouldn't surprise me if Stefanski stays another year.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to depend on how they look with Deshaun Watson. I mean, Watson's going to be rusty. He may not be right the first game or two, but I think if you go into the end of the year and you say, dang, their offense looks better. They got Deshaun Watson. Look at what he might do. I think that may be better for Stefanski. Now, if Watson comes back, it's more of the same. The offense is sputtering. I really do think they make a change.
That's a fair point. That's definitely fair. We'll see, man. We'll see if there's any kind of flashes or any kind of hope. Whether it's the remaining of the season or even going to next season, you just hope that Deshaun Watson is at least half of what he was back in Houston, and that's something that you can build upon. So we'll see.
Real quick, I want to spend a little bit more time with the Bengals and the Steelers. Ravens won 13-3 over the Panthers. You thought it would be a little bit easier, but, we've talked about this in the past. Panthers have good defense. So, I mean, I wouldn't make this out the Super Bowl caliber win for the Ravens, but they did what they needed to do. They won 13-3.
Yeah. I had a feeling about that game. that it was going to be like that, but I didn't expect it to be like this low scoring game where nobody scored until that final fourth quarter. Yeah, the Carolina's defense definitely both defenses played outstanding. That's for sure. But at the same time, Carolina's offense was just pretty bad where they had to bench Baker Mayfield for next game. The offense on Carolina was just pretty bad. But on the Baltimore Ravens side, it was definitely a battle tested win for them. I know it's the Carolina Panthers. They're not going anywhere. They're not doing anything. They're bad, but it just also shows that you don't want to underestimate teams as well. So, but for Baltimore Ravens, it's one of those wins that you have to have, and you got to get this win. You really can't afford losses like that, especially when you're making the playoff push and you're trying to win the division. There's just one of those things you just cannot afford, especially now how the way them Cincinnati Bengals are been playing as well. That you have to, if you want to win a division, you gotta have those wins. And even though it was an ugly win, You take it from the grain of salt and you keep it moving.
Yes, looking at the schedule, man, Peter, the next 6 games for the Ravens, 5 of them are against teams that are currently 3-7. They also play the Falcons, who are 5-6, but that's at home. So their schedule is really shaping up nicely for the next 6 weeks before the end of the year of an away game at Cincinnati. So, man, you talk about the Ravens making hay. This is their chance.
They definitely control their destiny, that's for sure. So it's definitely a big it's definitely a big opportunity for the Baltimore Ravens to show that they could be the team that could give the Kansas City Chiefs a run for their money. We see what the Chiefs can do. We see the Dolphins is continuing to ascend as well. But you want the Baltimore Ravens as a whole, offensively, defensively, coaching. So you definitely want to put the Baltimore Ravens out there. Are they like the team to be good enough to take out the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs? Because as of right now, it's pretty much open where anyone could be anyone in this league. So ain't no telling. So we'll see. We'll see. But I definitely see the Baltimore Ravens at least be contenders and make their way to the playoff, whether it's a division or with a wild card spot. But I definitely see them winning the division.
Steelers hung around with the Bengals on Sunday. Steelers were actually in the lead at halftime, but the Bengals made a lot of good adjustments. Steelers had no answer. It ended up being Steelers 37, Bengals 37, Steelers 30. I don't know. I mean, the Steelers in some ways, they looked a little bit better. I thought Pickett put some things together, but they're two very different teams right now. The Bengals are clearly a better team right now than the Steelers are. And the Bengals, I mean, again, with the Ravens schedule, they got to keep winning. But there's some talk that Jamar Chase will come back this week. So it'll be interesting to see how the Bengals move forward.
Yeah. You definitely want to have those division wins. It's very important. Division games are always going to be tough. So even if the Pittsburgh Steelers are going in an opposite direction, they're always going to be competitive. Whenever Mike Tomlin is the head coach, Mike Tomlin won't settle for anything less than a competitive ball game. So, yeah, it's just like with the Baltimore Ravens, just those wins that you just gotta have, and also have that is a division win as well. I don't know what Cincinnati Bengals schedule is looking like. I mean, you can point that out for me, but it's definitely it's one of those wins where you got to get a win. You want to continue to contend for the playoffs, there, let alone win the division. So there's no at this point with 7 games remaining left, you just cannot afford any kind of losses, and you got to take as much wins as possible if you want to continue to move forward.
Man, I got to point this out here. We talked about how easy the Ravens' schedule is. Get this for the Bengals. They go to Tennessee, which they beat Tennessee in the playoffs last year, but that's not going to be an easy game. Then they host Kansas City. They host Cleveland. Now, Cleveland's 3-7, but you never know. Maybe they get tougher with Deshaun Watson back. They go to Tampa Bay. They go to New England. They host Buffalo. And then they host Baltimore. Man, they got a doozy of a schedule.
That's brutal. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, I would bet my money on the Ravens to win the NFC North, to be honest with you.
I will say, but I would say this: if it does help to have Jamar Chase back, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It also helps that you're seeing Joe Mixon getting more involved and is playing at the high level that you want him to be. So this is definitely a major opportunity for the Bengals to show them that, hey, we're still going to be competitive. We're still going to come out swinging, and we're playoff contending teams. And this is the best way to show them with their godlike of a schedule. So we'll definitely see.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Pierre. We're going to do something a little bit different with this show. Still same content. We're kind of splitting up our NFL and college segments. So we'll be back really quickly, and you'll have a segment about college football. There's a big game coming up this weekend in Columbus we need to talk about. So for Pierre, this is Chris. Have a great day, everybody.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Mooney. Welcome to what is our new Hope Interrupted podcast based on the work from our book, Hope Interrupted, that I co-authored with my good friend Byron McCauley.
Hey, Jennifer, I'm looking forward to this podcast as much as I was looking forward to writing this book with you. We hope to interview some high-impact folks as well as have a little fun.
We're going to cover stories of hope. To learn more about our podcast and our book, please visit www.hopeinterrupted.com.